With eBrush, I'm just going to show you some fine art applications. This is, believe it or not, my sketch of an ear of corn up close. And so this is just to give you an idea of what you can do with the eBrush. I'm going to use my Tombows, slide in my brush, and I'm talking about my Tombow brush tip. Excuse me, I should have said that. Put my cap on, turn my machine on. I'm going to do a test spray to make sure that I have the right flow that I'd like, which is right about there. And this is going to be done primarily with hand stencils to get my sharp curve lines that I want. But I'm just going to build up layers to get my corn going. Remember, use your whites. Use your whites. Don't cover it all over. Just use your whites. I'm just going to get my areas in, my shapes in really good. Just a way to get started. Work on your composition. For a lot of us, we do a little pre-sketch so that we can see where we're going. But I know that I'm going to go darker and darker. Now you see I'm pulling up a little bit to diffuse my spray so I don't have so much there, but I've still got the yellow color. And remember, when I come closer, it gets darker because the spray is more concentrated. And I'm going to build up. I'm going to use this heart. I'm going to actually, it looks like I'm spraying on the acetate itself, but I'm just letting the edge of it run over. It's really easy to do. Because I want a nice sharp line, so I'm going to run it to the edge. Don't be afraid, you can always cover it up. Let me get my edge there. So I'm just giving myself a nice edge. I'm going to come back. I'm going to leave the highlights in the edge here because as it curls over, let's see. See, just a nice edge. Just a nice edge to square it up. Let's say you make a straight line. I hope that this imparts it a little bit better to you. I try and use my eBrush every day because it's always good to build up your techniques. I'm using Tombows for this illustration. Notice I'm not standing still, because if you stand still, you really do get that color really tight in there, and I want to make sure I'm getting it all over. And again with the straight edge, just to give my piece a nice straight edge. I'm actually spraying on the edge of the acetate. Just very lightly. And remember, you want shadow, so that's the whole point. I'm going to change my brush tip to a brown. I do want to show you this too. If you're using your brush and you get some extra color on it, remember, keep a moistened towelette or a sheet of paper and just wipe off the other color onto the paper so that it won't feed back into your marker. Let's use a little bit darker yellow and see where we're going with our shading. And again, we're going to come up. Very nice. I'm going to come in and just really give it a nice, I hope that you can see this and how we're doing with it. It's just adding shape to it. In order to do an illustration with markers, it does take a little while because you build up and you build up and you build up. And then afterwards I'll be erasing some of my carbon lines. Just to get some nice shape to it. I'll also be going just to give it a little bit of shadow in between the kernels. I'll be coming in with the brown to give it some more definition. But it's just strictly back and forth, back and forth. I'm moving, not my hand, I'm moving my whole arm from, actually I'm using my shoulder at this point. My elbow is actually stiff too, except for when I turn. Again, I'm going to leave my whites for highlights, since I don't have any opaque markers in this, and I like transparency anyway. But back and forth, just nice, easy strokes. Okay, and I do turn mine off in between changes. Again, I can see there's a little darkness on here, so I'm going to wipe it off. Back to my marker pool to grab a brown. And let's see what we can do with this. And again, have your paper handy so you can see. So you don't start with swatches on your work. You want to pull and find that sweet spot where you want to use your marker, because I don't want it to make a gradient all over. I want it to be really nice. There we go. So I'm going to go back in, and I'm not concerned if I do flurb a little bit, that's okay. You see the dark will make it pop. The dark is going to make it pop out. It will. See how the dark really makes our kernels stand out? Don't be afraid to overuse it. And you see how I've got these little things, and I'm not really concerned about that. This is from turning the template over when I have some wet ink on it. But that doesn't really bother me because I want it to be very natural and very whatever. So I'll work that back in with a blender in a few minutes. See, bring your highlight around, and it makes it pop out a little bit more. I know this is a quickie, but it's just to give you an idea. Let's see. Let's take one of our blenders and see what we can do. Take the blender out. It's got a little bit of color in it. Again, I'm going to bring mine. And watch when I use the blender. Oh, why does it keep doing that? I should have stopped it.